this episode of the People of Pearland Podcast.
I came back, my name is still like halfway out of the system. Like my name still doesn't show up on email lists or IT. So people always ask, did Kathleen leave again? Still here.
Stay tuned for more. Welcome everybody to the People of Pearland Podcast. I'm your host, Josh Lee.
And I'm your secondary host, Joe.
No, I think you're the other primary host.
Well,
We can have two primaries.
sure.
Yeah. And we have with us,
Oh, hi, Kathleen Pade. Hi.
hey, Kathleen Pade
Hey, Josh Lee.
from the fabulous communications team.
That's right. Our department, the department that is
Our-
responsible for this podcast.
Yes.
Well,
Sure.
this is a cross-departmental effort, but still,
It is,
you
it
know,
is. Yes,
we're
yes,
the ones
yes.
that produce it.
Lots of effort.
Yeah.
But it was our brainchild. It was your brainchild.
Thanks.
Really.
Yeah.
I just said, ooh, I like the sound of my own voice.
Yeah.
So I want to be on it all the time.
And I had the thought that we've only done the episode between you and me that was like the year anniversary one.
Yeah, which
But we
didn't
had-
go very well. More of y'all need to listen to that, by the way.
I enjoyed that episode.
I enjoyed it too.
But anyways, I thought it would be nice to have somebody from our department for once. And so I try to think of the person that's been around and through it all lately, which is Kathleen Pade.
Right. So we have people from all stages and ages and ranges of positions and tenure and things like that. And I think, ultimately, I do want to interview every single person in the city that works for the city. But there are 900 and some odd. So it's going to take us
Right.
a really long time.
And you just, recently hit your 5-year. Maybe
Yeah.
not recently. I've slept since then. But you've hit your 5-year. And I'd argue that in those 5 years of being with the city, you have seen some stuff.
I guess so.
Yeah. Like we have been through it.
Oh, you're right. You
Yeah.
know what? Now that you put it that way.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've been through some things.
Yeah.
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 Good times.
So, all right, take us back. Take us back to
Let's rewind to the beginning.
5 years ago. Well, okay, let's go back even further because we got to talk about the internship. So you started with the city of Pearland as an intern in communications.
Correct.
Right.
So I started at the end of 2018. At that time, I was kind of just desperate to get into any kind of field with communications. I had worked in legal, I had done some federal service program, and I was just ready to move into communications, into PR, into journalism, or anything along those lines.
Because that's what your degree's in, right?
Yes, and also because I like it. Not just because it's my degree, but yeah, I saw an opening for the city of Pearland. I applied, and I was like, oh heck yeah! We did the interview. I was remote. I was
That's right.
I was in Wisconsin.
Yeah, because you were still with...
I was with AmeriCorps. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was in Wisconsin. And there was a very noisy interview over the phone. Josh said that... Was it you who said it, or was it Debbie? It sounded like I was in a war zone or something, because it was so windy and there were chainsaws going on in the background that it was kind of hard to make me out. And I asked if y'all could hear me okay, and everyone said yes. But it just sounded like...
I don't remember that.
That's before my time.
That's what Debbie told me. Maybe that's what Jerome told me.
Might
Someone
have been.
else who has
Do you remember
passed.
who all was in your interview?
Yeah, it was you,
Me.
Debbie, Jerome, Robert.
That
That's
would have
it.
been it, probably.
That was it. That was
Yeah.
the whole team then. Such a small team.
So
Yeah.
small.
So small back then.
Look at you now.
Look at me now. Here, 5 years.
Full time.
That's crazy.
So
With benefits.
when you got the offer to become an intern here, was that an exciting thing for you? Like,
Oh.
were you? How did you come to the city of Pearland as a that'd be a cool place to?
I mean, I've always kind of lived here. I lived in the ETJ, or the extraterritorial jurisdiction,
Would
for
you
those
know
of you.
ETJ if you didn't work here?
No, absolutely
Yeah.
not.
Cool.
There you go.
In my head, ETJ sounded like, instead of et cetera, it would be et cetera, which doesn't make any sense. But
I'm gonna start using that.
Yeah.
Et cetera.
et cetera. But yeah, there's a lot of things that I found out when I actually started working here. But, I always considered myself somebody who's from Pearland, even though, like, I'm from Rocheron, which is kind of like nowhere.
Pearland adjacent.
Yeah, it's Highway 6, 288.
Yeah.
But I hung out a lot in Pearland, and so it kind of just made sense for me, like to come back home after being away for a while and to kind of just be okay being at home while, starting a career.
Yeah.
So especially in a place that was familiar, it was nice. And then being able to have that stability that a lot of young millennials crave was kind of important at the time for me. It still is important at the time.
What
at this time?
What do you think is the most profound thing from your internship time? Like, what's the thing that sticks out in your mind?
Oh man. I wouldn't say there's only one time, but there were a lot of opportunities where you dragged me around and introduced me to a lot of
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I was physically present, but it's not like you took me by the arm.
Yeah.
Get over here. I was introduced to a lot of people that felt very daunting, like police chiefs, fire chiefs, city managers, and I was just like, man, I'm just a lowly little intern over here, and wow, I'm shaking the hand of a city manager, of a police chief. That's insane. So I've always been somebody who thought the world is so much bigger than what I am, and then to meet like actual change makers was very intimidating at the time. I struggled with a lot of anxiety and whatnot, but also inspirational. Yeah, there you go. But it was also very inspirational to see, these actual figures that you read in the news and be like, wow, they actually implement a lot of change and they do some great things around here. So that was really impressive.
They're human beings.
And they're human beings.
And they're cool. Like, we have some really nice chiefs and things like that. They're very approachable.
I had the same experience coming on, like my first few weeks, because immediately you get to kind of sit in on a director's meeting, like, and introduce yourself. So you're like directly introduced to the round table of all the, top folks and stuff. But pretty quickly, like, there's a hierarchy here, but like very early on, it didn't feel like that, because you do get to meet the police chief. I remember like my first video with Chief Spires, and it just felt so normal, right? It just didn't feel like this big thing, or So I had the similar experience there, where you just.
And I think it also owes to like our department. Like, one, we're small, so that makes it easy to be able to meet other people from other departments. But similarly, the way communications operates, like, we kind of know everything that's happening anywhere within the department, and we have to be very cognizant of that. And I think that's just really cool to just have these colleagues who become like close friends, and people that you kind of lean on, as it is with any other job. You rely on your colleagues to be able to get work done, but at the same time, it's just you're all with each other to succeed, and I find that very refreshing.
Yeah. Love that.
I've always considered us, like sort of a little boutique ad agency, because we service all the departments and we kind of run the gamut. And like, the thing that still blows my mind is the diversity of experiences we can have from day to day. Like, one day you're doing sword training and getting shot at with paint bullets, and the next day you're climbing a water tower, and like, what?
Yeah.
Who gets to do this kind of stuff? And Henry still asks me, he's like, so what do you do on a daily basis? I'm like, man, I don't even know. Like, one day we're doing dumb videos, and the next day we're, sitting in council meetings with our little suits and stuff. So it's a different experience.
For sure. Okay, I want to go all the way back
like my
starting
birthday?
in no, we're not going that far back. We don't need to go all the okay, so I feel like you were a very strong writer, right? Kind of coming into this role, and I would like to say you're a very well-rounded creative now, like, and so I kind of want to hear
the Canva queen.
Oh my God.
And so I'm just curious about like what has been your favorite thing, because I mean you kind of were more passionate about the writing, copywriting kind of part of communications, right?
You started as a writer,
yes,
right? And now you're a jack of
all
very
trades.
many trades.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what's your favorite thing that you picked up along the way?
Oh man, that's very difficult to pinpoint. Like now I don't do as much writing. I will say in the advent of AI and ChatGPT, work has become significantly easier, especially in the aspects of writing. Just my flow just moves a lot quicker. And that's not to say that, I don't write as much, but I would like to write more. But at the same time, you've got a pretty heavy plate.
Right.
So you've got to balance a lot of things. But I think the thing that I really... Dang, that's really hard. No, I know the answer.
Hard-hitting questions.
Yeah. No, right. I know the answer. I don't know why I didn't think about this, but I'm actually kind of proud of where I've gotten photography-wise.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I can agree to that.
Yeah, I never really was into like photography growing up. Just in the normal way artsy kids are. You write, you draw, you take pictures, you make music, just the normal kind of things you do when you're kind of that artsy kid. But then being here, like, enabled me to grow in a lot of those aspects because I had the tools and the time to actually dedicate to learning and to growing.
Yeah.
They say, if you want to get good at something, you just keep doing it.
Yep.
Right.
And I remember, like, when I wanted very briefly to pick up photography in college, it was like, I don't have time for this. It's like, I've got papers to write. I've got jobs and internships to work. I don't have the time to figure out how to work like the manual mode in a very elementary basic DSLR. Right. But being able to be here and just experiment and play around with it is just pretty awesome. So I'm pretty proud of that.
Yeah, and I think it's also telling of like the landscape of this field too, right?
Sure.
Like I feel like the work that we have to do crosses so many different types of creative styles and ideas that you might have come in as a writer, but you realize that there needed to be this video aspect. There needed to be these photos to tell it, even graphic design plays a big role in the stuff that you're doing now. So,
and I think it's part of sort of how we're geared, and frankly, how we've been set up as a department to be like, oh, let's figure it out.
Yeah.
And I tell this to new hires, like, we'll try anything once.
Right.
You know what I mean? You remember when we tried to do a logo for, was it for courts?
For courts?
Yeah. There was somebody we were going to do a logo for, that you did. I think this would have been in your intern days.
I don't remember anything.
I still have it in my new hire presentation.
I don't
yeah.
I don't know.
What are
I don't know.
I'd have to, maybe it was. I don't think it was OEM. I think it was before we tried to do OEM. But like I like that we all kind of have that bootstrap, mentality. Because to me, that if you don't have that, you limit yourself creatively.
You're right.
Right.
Yeah.
And certainly your experience, especially with the on the merchandising side, like, well, if we stitch this together and do this thing and get this material, like, it unlocks so much potential for us just in terms of what we're capable of doing, which then opens up new ideas and new things. And so
yeah. No, it's interesting. I think that keeps it fresh for me, and I'm sure you feel the same way too.
Oh, yeah.
To be able to work on a big design project for a week and then step away from that, and then maybe pick up something that's video related the next. It's a different kind of experience than I would get somewhere else.
Yeah. My observation, just in terms of growth trajectory, has been for you with project management. That's been a huge area, and something that's always plagued us as a department, because we're just big enough where it's a problem and too small for us to really be able to do anything substantial about it. And that's an area where I feel like you've developed you have a natural talent for helping us get stronger in that way.
I've always just liked being organized. I don't know how to put it. Like, I just always liked being organized. I don't know. Growing up at home, it was always a little chaotic. So I just liked things being where they were easy to find or easily accessible. So here, prior to our server structure or using Monday.com, it wasn't difficult, but it needed to be easier than what it was.
It wasn't easy either.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like everything was sorted by year, which makes sense. But then sometimes you have multiple project folders for different. I'm getting in the weeds, but sometimes you just gotta like dig. You have to continue to dig, and it's like, why do I need to continue to dig when I know it should be here?
Yeah.
So yeah.
Good job with that.
Go team. It's a team effort.
So growing up, did you see yourself working in local government, or like what did baby Kathleen want to do when she was
Baby Kathleen? It didn't matter what baby Kathleen wanted because baby Kathleen was supposed to be a registered nurse.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
As most first generation Filipino daughters are led to move in the direction of.
Why is that? Is it because it's a...
So nursing in the Philippines, the schooling over there is apparently quite amazing. And so a lot of nurses will immigrate over to the United States or Dubai or elsewhere because a lot of those countries have a high demand for nurses, and they find that they really like Filipino nurses because of the way that they're taught in school.
Interesting.
And when you come to the U.S., you suddenly have a lot of money and upward mobility versus when you start out in the Philippines. So my mom, youngest of 6 children, raised primarily by a single mom. She's the nurse, and she came over here, and she sends money back over there to help out the family. But at the same time, she was able to raise me, my brothers, and also not raise my dad, but be with my dad as the primary breadwinner there also. So it was kind of like the formula for success.
Yeah.
If you want to be able to have a family and be economically stable, blah blah blah, take 4 years, go be a nurse.
Sure.
And I was good at it, like science, anatomy. It was cool, but it wasn't something that was like, I want to do this. This is my passion. This is my life.
To me, that's it. I know we're probably a little crazy doing the jobs that we do, but like I see the job that nurses do, and I'm like, nah, I can't. Do
yeah, yeah. Like whenever there's a hurricane or some kind of emergency thing, the second I get wind of it, I make sure to tell my mom because she'll be on emergency rotation or something, whether or not she's the A shift or the shift that rides out the storm or the relief shift,
Right.
so that she can get her stuff ready and prepare and simultaneously get my dad ready as well, who's on dialysis. So all those things are kind of important. But senior year of high school, I found out I was taking an EMT class. I had to do clinical rotations. I had a mandatory labor and delivery rotation. And a lot of people find beauty in witnessing the birth of a life, and I think that's beautiful that they find beauty in that, but baby Kathleen did not, and she was ready to pass out, and she looked like she was going to faint, and everyone was like, man, this is amazing. Hey, Kathleen, are you okay?
Oh, no.
And then we had cherry pie for dinner afterwards. It was great. It was fantastic.
So that kind of sealed the fate. You were just like, nah, I think.
No, not really. I still.
What?
No.
You still went on it.
I tried to push through it mentally.
Sure.
You know what? This is all in your head, Kathleen. Like you can. If you want it, there's a will, there's a way.
Sure.
So you're going to be a nurse, Kathleen. You want to be a nurse because your parents want you to be a nurse. It just doesn't.
You're like, nope.
I can't. Wearing black scrubs all the time.
So anytime we're out doing photo shoots with fire or EMTs, you don't. There's no itch. Like, oh man, maybe I should have.
No.
All right.
What
Cool.
am I supposed to do? Hi, I know a little bit of CPR. Let me help. No, I'm not gonna. I don't know. But I pursued nursing a little bit in college, and then you have the occasional, I guess, the somewhat mandatory, obligatory breakdown where you kind of question your life. And it's like, I'm going into debt for all of this. And it's like, I don't think I really want to do this. And then I changed majors into English and then to communications. And I found a lot of joy in that, actually, being able to. I was very different as a nursing student versus a communications or an English student. I was very quiet. I was very reserved. I took my tests. I did the labs. They were fine, but I didn't it was like going through the motions.
Yeah, for sure.
Whereas being in communications was like, man, this is what's happening in the press right now. That's crazy what's happening, over the country. And you're just really enamored and kind of, I don't want to say obsessed, but you're kind of obsessed with the things you do.
I'm always enthralled by impressed. I don't know what the word is, but thinking about how much responsibility is put on babies at that age to like choose what they're going to do for the rest of their life.
Yeah.
You know, and I remember being a senior in high school, and my aunt asking me like, "What are you going to do for your life?" I'm like, "What? I hadn't thought that far ahead yet." And I mean, I have plenty of friends that like they knew from the time we were kids, you know. And but I think the majority of us, maybe that's an overgeneralization, like you're in college and still like, how are you supposed to know what's going to make you happy for a lifetime?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that kind of pressure, man, that's tough.
It wasn't pleasant. When I did that final major change, man, it was dramatic in the household. Like, it was bad.
Oh,
Yeah.
gosh.
Anyways, we're not going to talk about childhood trauma. Not here. Not on People of
I
Pearland.
remember one time I was like, I'm going to be an attorney, and someone was like, what? And I stormed out of the house. So, I mean, as a kid, like, I mean, now that I'm a parent and I can see I'm the parent of a teenager officially now, the always right thing is like, every time I can hear his eyes rolling, and I'm like, son, I made you. And they get so confident so fast. And I don't know what, it must be like a human survival instinct or something, because there is nothing that any person up to that age has ever done to deserve the kind of confidence that I know I had at that age and that I watch my son with now. And I'm like, you don't even know. Like, you don't know. So, you know, someday I think you'll see it and be like, okay, now, yeah, I get it.
That's the fear of, hello, podcast listeners. I'm 30 years old, so just putting that into perspective. So it's like, if I have children, that's one of like the biggest fears that I have. Like, what kind of parent am I going to turn out to be? And what kind of, you know, influence will I have over the next generation? It's kind of,
I think it's hard to tell until you're in that situation.
I don't know if I want to be in
that
that
had
situation.
like delusions of grandeur of what kind of parent I was going to be, what kind of grandparents my parents were going to be, like all of those things, and none of those things turned out at all like I expected them to. I don't know. I mean, I think that most people, when they have kids, they don't think it all the way through, because if you did, probably fewer of them had kids. But variable that you cannot account for is the kid that you have. Because they're their own human being too, and that changes your parenting.
Right.
I mean,
That's a good point. My brother and I are 15 months apart, and we are two very different people who were
15
parented.
I don't think I realized y'all were that close.
your older brother or your younger brother? Oh,
My
your
younger,
older brother.
both my brothers are younger, but yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was thinking. Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Well, you know, 15 months from one, and then 9 years from the other.
Yeah.
Right.
But it's weird. We basically grew up kind of like twins, because we were all, by the time you're conscious, you're just very aware of each other.
Right.
You know, at the age of 1 or 2, you're not really aware that you have a sibling, but 3 or 4, you kind of are.
Sure.
But, you know, we were both very different children and still very different people, but I feel like we were both parented very different too.
Yeah.
So that's very interesting to put that into perspective.
Yeah, and I think that's a really natural thing. And the thing that, I mean, I'm slow to pick up on a lot of these things, but the influence or impact that a parent has is more profound on the child. Like, I do things that don't register with me, and they have a significant impact on my kids, good, bad, or otherwise. And I'm a human being with my own thoughts and schedules and distractions and things like that. And so it's not realistic to think that I can be completely in tune with everything that's going on with them. And it's different from one child to the next. And I think no matter how close they are, in age or demographics or, anything. But it's tricky. It's something I've been thinking a lot about lately. The whole parenting scheme it's an adventure.
Fascinating.
You should totally do it. It's so fun. So after you became an intern, you're a full-time employee. How's it been? What's the,
That's such a broad question to ask. How's it been?
How's Kathleen?
What is it?
No,
Kathleen's great.
So what do you do? Talk to the viewers. What do you do? What's your full-time job here?
I am a communications specialist. What does that mean?
What does it mean?
Do a lot of things. Graphic design, photography, videography, web, social media for various departments in the city.
Yep.
Mine are the police department, the fire department, and emergency management. I stuttered there for the police department.
Safety.
Yes, public safety.
Yeah.
I stuttered there for a little bit because for the most part, they're all pretty self-sufficient, and I kind of just provide guidance and I guess deliverables for them.
Sure.
So that's what I do.
Strategy, suggestions, support, encouragement.
All the big words, yeah.
Come to them with ideas like, hey, we want to do something that's kind of silly.
And then tell them no.
Right.
Yeah.
No, that's what is it? Do you like that job?
I love it.
You don't have to say it just because.
Yeah, you don't.
I actually dislike it.
No, she doesn't. She loves it. We know she loves it.
No, I love it. Every day is different, and every day assignment project kind of presents itself as a new challenge. I guess so. 3 years ago, I left the city of Pearland, pursuing an opportunity in the private sector for for project management, and
to grow professionally.
Yes, to grow professionally.
Full transparency, we had long conversations about this, and I was fully supportive of Kathleen growing professionally. I wasn't going to stand in the way of that.
Yeah, so I made that. I gave Josh my resignation. I departed from the city. It was spring break.
And we recreated that that section of the episode from The Office.
Right.
You're right,
Yeah.
on the track.
Yep.
Yeah. Which was, I'm still really proud of that piece of video. It was a good one. Sorry.
Yeah.
When Michael Scott leaves, you should go back and watch it. It was really good.
We'll link it in the description
There
or
you go.
whatever.
Click the link in the description below. Smash that subscribe button.
I found out rather quickly, like 3 days into this new job, that I missed the city of Pearland very much, and I missed all the things that I did there. Versus, not to knock on what I was actually doing, which was more like admin assistant, HR kind of work, and I was like, this is cool, but it's not for me. Like, I already missed the kinds of things that I was doing. I felt like, dang, Kathleen, you had, I don't want to say you had everything, but you had fantastic colleagues. You had
everything.
You had great colleagues, great projects. Like, you felt intellectually and creatively stimulated. Like, everything felt good, and then you just felt like you were professionally stunted and just needed to go somewhere. And so during those 3 days I was gone, I made the decision to come back to the city, and I called Josh up on one spring break day. I called him at like 9 a.m., 8 a.m. or something. He didn't answer, and I was like, oh man, he's mad at me. He's mad.
I don't know why I didn't answer.
Oh no, you were sleeping.
Oh yeah.
It was spring
on
break.
Vacation.
Yeah, I was on vacation. Yeah.
He said, hi, I missed your call. Sorry, I was stirring. I'm just now stirring. I was like, cool, stirring coffee? Or
I think I was making coffee, because I remember being on my patio. I think I just made coffee, and I was sitting outside.
overlooking your backyard,
Yeah.
your floral backyard.
Sitting by my
Kathleen's
pond.
going to ask me for her job back.
I didn't know what you were calling for.
Well, that's what anyways. Yeah, I asked for my job back. They hadn't interviewed anyone because Josh was on spring break.
Right.
And so I came back, and it kind of became the joke, and still is the joke around the city for the shortest departure of an employee and return.
That's a record.
It
That's
has to
pretty-
be some sort of record.
Yeah. Yeah, I came back. My name is still like halfway out of the system. Like, my name still doesn't show up on email lists or IT. So people always ask, did Kathleen leave again? Still here. Just send the email. It won't populate, but I'm
my
still here.
goodness. I'm sorry. It's such a wild story. I am glad you came back.
That was
obviously.
a crazy week.
That was. Yeah, if we could not do that again, that'd be really cool.
Yeah, I don't, I made 5. Might as well stay for the next 20, right?
There you go. Right. Yeah.
I think so.
You're halfway there.
Yeah.
We're retired.
Is that
here,
math?
man.
Yeah.
We're
that's not-
creatives, so that's how we do math.
Yeah. Round.
So do you feel like you lean, like when thinking about which departments you wanted to manage, did you feel like you wanted to lean into public safety for a certain reason? Was there something in your background that like...
This might be the New Jersey kid in me, the New Jersey millennial kid in me, but I've always admired public safety, and that is probably, I don't know when I uncovered this truth in me, but that's probably because of 9/11, honestly. I grew up in New Jersey. I was in 2nd grade when 9/11 happened. And that was just kind of a big thing. Like, I just remember watching news, documentaries, videos, and then like that, it's kind of weird. Like I had like a hyper obsession with 9/11. And then in junior high, it respawned back up, and I just like delved really deep into it, and I had a crazy appreciation for public servants. So, I always thought it was just kind of cool to see what they were doing.
Yeah.
I did entertain going into public safety, but not really, because I was supposed to be a nurse, so I never really entertained those ideas beyond, when I did EMT in high school, and was like, wow, I can be a first responder. But yeah, I've always just kind of admired public safety. Yeah, that's it.
If you would have gone into law enforcement, where would you see yourself? Like canine patrol?
I don't think I do see me in law enforcement. When I
could see you as a canine officer.
I like cats, Josh. I like cats.
A feline officer.
Meow.
Have an attack cat.
She
There might
meowed
be
on the
something
episode. We got a meow on the episode.
You could have like a lion or something.
A lion.
Yeah, and just have it chase people down.
That sounds
They're good at
like animal abuse.
tackling people. I mean, just a thought.
Just an honest thought.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe not a police officer.
EMT.
Well, I would.
You're real big on the emergency management.
Yeah.
Like I could see you somewhere in that.
Yeah. So, I guess it's time to go further backward in the Kathleen's life pre City of Pearland. So that interview I mentioned earlier, where it sounded like I was in a war zone with helicopters, I was in this program called AmeriCorps. NCCC, National Civilian Community Corps. Man, it's been so many years. So
National Civilian.
Yeah, National Civilian Community Corps.
Got it.
I think of it as like Peace Corps, but domestic.
Got it.
So,
And that is the same as AmeriCorps or different?
so it's like a subsection of AmeriCorps. So
I
there's
see.
like 3 types of AmeriCorps. There's like AmeriCorps NCCC, there's AmeriCorps Vista, and then there's AmeriCorps State National. State National?
Sure.
I'm looking at
You're looking
another
at us
colleague
like we-
because she was also in AmeriCorps
Wait, what?
What?
as a Vista. Yeah.
Huh? Say that again?
Oh.
I can't hear you when you whisper.
She said teaching.
Jasmine's also in the room, but she's not speaking up because she doesn't have a microphone in front of her, I guess. And this episode's about Kathleen.
Yeah.
But anyways, we'll get back to it.
Yeah. Well,
Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. But prior to, I'm getting there, to being in AmeriCorps, I worked for a law office. This was in 2017. What else happened in 2017? Hurricane Harvey. Woo!
Yeah, there you go.
So I remember Hurricane Harvey hit, and literally the next day they were like, come into the office. Like, it's not that bad. Yes, it was bad. Like, the streets were literally flooded. People's homes were flooded. Like, you're going to have me come into the office and do legal intakes, then call them back in 30 minutes and tell them that their medical malpractice case is rejected. Like, I don't want to do that. I didn't feel very empowered, and that felt like, we're already in the midst of a disaster. I don't want to step on anyone else's toes for anything else. So I got kind of frustrated by that, and I remember seeing an AmeriCorps crew. And I remember while in college that I was kind of scouted by someone from AmeriCorps who had a little table and booth and whatnot And I was like, oh, that's cool. They're actually out here doing this stuff. So I was like, okay, I'm leaving this law firm. I'm going to do one of two things. I'm either going to join the Army as an officer, or I'm going to get into AmeriCorps. And whichever option was first was the one that I was going to go with, because I was just kind of fed up with where I was at.
Army Kathleen.
Army Kathleen. Yeah, Army Kathleen. Officer Kathleen. Lieutenant Kathleen.
Would you have shaved your head if you were in the Army? Would you have been like...
Oh, you know what? I probably
G.I.
would have.
Jane?
Like,
Yeah.
that era, when
Yeah.
all the girls shaved their head.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I would have. I definitely would have been
I
one
can
of
see
them.
that.
I can
Or
see
like
that.
the half-shaved head.
Yeah.
Who did that? What was her name? Natalie Dormer. Yeah. I'm looking at you because you're the movie guy.
Oh, I don't know who that is.
No, who was G.I. Jane?
G.I. Jane? Demi Moore?
Demi Moore.
Demi Moore?
Demi Moore.
What did you say?
I said Natalie Dormer?
Oh, okay. Completely different people.
Yeah, this is not the same person.
Okay.
Sure.
Anyways, I don't think my recruiter from the Army liked me very much because he wanted like enlisted folk, and I was going to go in as an officer because I had my degree, and so he kind of dragged on my paperwork. And then AmeriCorps came through, and they were like, would you like to be a team leader? And I said, no. Would you like to be a team member? Yes. So that basically sparked the actual action of getting into public service. So in AmeriCorps, we traveled in teams of 8 to 10 around the country performing service work for man, there was a lot of things. I remember we helped with a facility that did equine therapy for people with disabilities. We did a lot of things. It was like the craziest 11 months of my life.
Wow.
But I got a lot of like life experience in a very short amount of time out of that. I don't remember where this was going. Something
How you got into public service?
Public service and emergency management and all that kind of...
Yes. So amidst all of that, we had to do a lot of FEMA training because a lot of teams would get called out during hurricane season to come to states that were hit.
Right.
And their official organizations all follow the ICS structure.
Yeah.
And they
Yeah. So they all... I was kind of hoping I would be one of those teams that got down to Texas or to Florida.
right.
And there were teams that were going to Puerto Rico. I think that was Hurricane Maria, where they still didn't have power. But you needed to have at least 2 Spanish speakers on your team. Dang. We didn't have any, tragically. So I didn't get to do any kind of hurricane disaster work, so that made me a little sad because I wanted to give back to, what those AmeriCorps members had done for our community.
Yeah.
And I was like, dang. But still, I learned a lot about FEMA, ICS, and specifically PIOs. And I was like, oh, public information officers sound really cool. So, yeah, emergency management, communications, love child is PIO, I guess. So,
It all lined up.
Yeah, it all kind of lined up. And then Josh asked me during my interview if I had PIO training, and I said no, because I didn't know what that stood for, because we just called it Public Information Officer. We didn't say PIO.
Look at us, government types with our acronyms.
With our acronyms. We'll link you to the episode. Acronyms.
Yeah.
That's a joke we used to have.
We said ICS, but did we say what that is?
Incident
Command.
Command
There you go.
System.
Boom!
Ooh,
So-
acronyms.
Speaking on your day-to-day, you were currently on an incident management team.
Oh.
It's been
IMT.
going on for
Weeks.
now.
Almost 8 weeks.
Yeah.
Right. So that's another part of your day-to-day, which is
Not part of your regular day-to-day. It's just other
Just-
duties at the time, right?
Yeah.
when
Yes.
things spool up. Yeah. So we had Hurricane Beryl in the beginning of July.
Right after the 4th of July.
Right. And so we all kind of tag team. Obviously, Josh was the primary PIO during the event of the actual storm.
Yep.
But, there's a whole recovery process that follows afterwards,
Yep.
which Kathleen got tagged to be the PIO for that. And so for the past...
She's done a fantastic job, by the way.
Oh.
100%.
thanks.
So her main talk track has been everything debris removal.
Debris.
Yeah.
Debris. Yeah. So that was actually my first official capacity as a PIO, and I was like very nervous about it. So I got spun up really like quickly. Whenever you get anxious about like activations or work, we just call each other getting activated. That's just what we say.
Right.
Yeah.
And I was like very activated that first week. Like I was very stressed out about all of the expected work that I
Right.
thought would have to
Yeah.
come out of me. not to say that it wasn't a lot of work, but, you learn a lot of things when you're actually the PIO for a thing versus when you're training for it. But yeah, I learned a lot of things. It was actually kind of fun to work in, I don't know, how do you say this? It was kind of fun to work in a stressful situation that you're not familiar with.
Right.
No, I totally get it.
Yeah, it was, I was working with primarily Public Works and Engineering, their department. I don't really work with that often. And they were all just very fantastic, knowledgeable people.
Yeah.
And very resourceful and patient people too.
Yeah.
Like they're just all saints.
Because that first week, you start talking about debris, but at that time that you came on,
it was power.
Power was still such a huge issue following the storm. And so a lot of the work that we were doing was just being a sounding board for the folks out there that were having that problem. That was a crazy week.
Yeah. Yeah, that was a lot of residents asking, when is power going to come back on? And of course, we don't have control over power, but being able to empower those residents, I guess, by giving, that information to Centerpoint, when they say, oh no, this block has power and residents are saying we don't.
Yeah.
Then obviously you need to speak up for your residents.
Yep.
So that was very fun. So after that Centerpoint stuff was done and over with, then it became debris. Lots of branches, lots of trees, lots of leaves. I know it seemed like it took a long time, and it technically did take a long time, but with the amount of debris that we did have,
it's really...
we made this analogy, not last Talk of the Town, but the Talk of the Town before that, that where we were at the time measured up, but we've filled up more than the entire volume of the average Costco. Right. So
from floor to ceiling.
Yeah.
The entire warehouse.
Right.
Yeah. And then some.
Which is staggering.
Yeah. So it's like the entire warehouse and then the liquor store next door or whatever.
Right. Yeah.
So that's insane to me.
I mean, wrap your head around that. I mean, we've seen the debris field.
Oh, it's massive. It was massive, right?
Yeah. And the load that those trucks can take. And sometimes, like even on the video, it doesn't do it really a lot of justice for how large those trucks are.
Yeah.
If you were ever on the road, you saw them on video, and you're like, oh yeah, that's a debris truck. And you saw them on the road, you're like, oh, that's a debris truck, because they're actually quite massive.
Very tall,
yeah.
Very long.
Yeah. So oftentimes they would fill up rather quickly, then have to go back to the debris management site, drop off, and then go back. And it was... Man, those guys did some work. Yeah. So
I bet you know more about debris than you ever thought you wanted to.
Yeah, I think so. I don't think I ever want to hear the word debris again in my life.
I know it's weird, but like and part of it is the PIO group that we have for our activations, and the number of times that we've been fortunate to be able to exercise as a group. I look forward to our activations because they are exciting. I mean, they are stressful, they're tense, but we have such a good battle rhythm, I think, that it removes that top layer of like frenzied stress.
Yeah, for sure.
And there's just like a hum that sits right under the surface, and I think we're really good about leaning on each other's strengths and getting into a working group that makes us as successful as we can be in those situations. So very appreciative of the entire group and everybody that contributes to it, because it makes some really memorable events.
Yeah,
so much fun.
Like in the midst of disaster, you're just team building and you're bonding with your colleagues.
Oh yeah.
You're trauma bonding, but
you're trauma bonding, but it's
you're troubleshooting all these different things together. It's something. Yeah.
And then you get through and it's like 6 days later and your hair's standing on end and you're like, you don't even know what day it is anymore, and you're like, what happened? I still have to do my 214s? What?
Not the 214.
That's an ICS form.
There you go.
If you want to get reimbursed by FEMA, you have to fill out your ICS, your 214s.
Paperwork needs to be done correctly.
So much paperwork.
So when audits happen, everything's in good working order.
Did we have to? We approved payroll yesterday, right? I think I had to submit my 214.
Oh, Kathleen.
Oh.
Well, as soon as we're done here.
Yeah, I can go do my 214. Great. Go team.
All right, well, that's the episode. No. No, we do like to close each one of these with our why. You know, it's my baby. It's my jam.
Why ask me?
Why ask
Why?
me?
Why ask me?
me?
No, you got to put the emphasis on the me.
Oh, yeah.
Why
Yeah.
ask me?
Why ask me?
I fixed it. I turned it around.
So you're gonna ask
I
me
was
why? Why
trying
ask me?
something. So what's your, like nobody comes to local government to get rich.
Yeah.
People want to be in public service.
Mm-hmm.
What's your what's your motivation?
That is I feel like this entire conversation has teed me up for this moment, and I'm still not prepared for the actual response.
That wasn't intentional. We
Oh,
just
okay.
let these go where they go.
Oh, okay. Well, there's two answers I could give here.
We'll give them both and we'll see which one we like better.
Okay, yeah, then we'll cut the other one. All right. So the first one that I can think of immediately is, I'm a weeboo. What does that mean? It basically means you're an anime nerd. So
What?
you're an anime nerd. Like you watch anime.
Oh, an
Oh,
animator.
God.
I think you said an
Anim-
animator, and I was like,
I
don't
am
know what that
definitely
is.
not. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
You know,
you
that'll be
make
the next thing I
drawing.
work on,
How
I
do you
guess.
draw rings?
I draw rings.
An animator.
I
So
do.
you watch
I do
anime.
draw. Yes, I watch anime,
She
and
does
there
draw,
was.
but her drawings are very good.
Yeah, yep, that's my thing. But there was this one anime that I was really, really into growing up, and this was like high school probably, and there's a coup d'etat happening, and the coup is able to overtake the radio station, and the radio station is like cool beans because no one can silence the mass media. And to me, that was like, no one can silence the mass media. As in, like, the voice of the people is empowering, and what you can do with the voice of the mass populace is a lot.
Sure.
So being in communications and being able to, I guess, soundboard for the general public or to communicate with them of what is actually going on in their government or just in their immediate surroundings, I think is very valuable.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know how to say that. Just being able to know things and then to disseminate information accurately, consistently. I don't know. It's just cool to me.
I dig it. So that's one answer.
So that was one.
What's the other?
What's the other?
I was hoping I would come up with that on the other half of my brain while I was spitting words.
Wow.
You're like 401k.
401k, retire
We don't
early,
have
20
that.
more years. The other answer is probably, I'm saying probably, but it's because I haven't formulated the words yet.
Sure.
Yeah, the other
You're
answer.
stalling though.
Yeah, I am stalling now. What's the question again? What's my
your
why? Why do I do this?
Hard hitting questions.
They really are.
Why do you get up every day? Every day you wake up and you're like, I get to go to work today. And what's the thing about that like?
Yeah.
You know, it's changed over time. So before, and it probably still is answer number one, similar
Sure.
to,
Right.
wanting to communicate, the soundboard for the public, be able to disseminate information. But the other half of it is like, I don't know how to say this, like my colleagues need me?
Sure.
I don't know how to put it, like my,
Oh, wow.
Like-
no.
like, it's not like, oh, I have to be at work because
Right.
my boss or my colleagues expect me there. But it's,
They're relying on you.
yeah, and I don't, I can't find words right now.
No.
It's just like you feel like you're needed
Yeah.
and you want to show up for the people, I guess, that have also showed up for you.
Right.
And it's like, I just want to give,
Respect.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, that's,
I feel that.
Love that. Yeah.
I think that's I feel like I do see that in a lot of people. And we hear that a lot, even on this podcast. Like, people come here for people.
yeah.
You know what I mean? But I know, like, in my bones, our organization, we run lean enough that we need everybody to show up and to show up. You know what I mean? To bring their whole self to work.
Right.
Otherwise, we're not operating at 100%. We
That's
don't
true.
do warm bodies and seats.
Yeah. I was going to say that. I was like, yeah, you need to be present. We're not
Right.
just bodies on the floor.
Right.
I've worked in jobs where you just need a body on the floor.
Yeah.
And
That's not what we do.
no, and it's insulting to that person, and it's
Absolutely.
insulting to that organization to just settle. So
Yeah.
it's like you need to be there, and you should also expect that your organization will be there. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Dig it.
cool.
Any closing
Any closing
words
remarks?
of wisdom or questions or comments that you'd
don't-
like to leave the people with?
I mean, I left the city and I came back for a reason. Like, the people really here are great. It's just a fantastic organization, being able to work for the city of Pearland, being able to grow here and to learn. Like, this isn't just a paycheck.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
there's so much more to be had than, the dollar signs or the benefits or what have you. Like, you feel a sense of purpose here.
Yeah.
And you feel like people here are pushing for you to give your all. And, that's just nice. Like, it's not just, okay, 5:00, time to get out of here. It's everyone here wants to be here. And I like that.
The people of Pearland with purpose.
The purpose of the people.
Purpose
of the
of-
Purpose of the people of Pearland
The purpose of the podcast of the people of Pearland.
with purpose.
Sorry, I really got to go to the bathroom.
All right.
Okay. Well, that's it for this episode. We appreciate y'all for joining us. And she lost her
Yep.
microphone.
I really got to go.
Okay. All right. Just let me wrap this up. Give me like 2 seconds. All right. That's it. That's it for this episode of the People of Pearland Podcast. Thank you all for joining us. Thank you, Kathleen, for taking the time.
Yeah, good job, Kathleen. Good job.
And we will see you all next time.